This week on Christian World News, a hidden chapter of history. A Muslim-majority nation's Christian past, filled with faith, sacrifice, and resilience. Plus, a Christian in the IDF. This soldier describes rooting out terror tunnels in Gaza. Hear how his life was miraculously spared. And they're putting on their running shoes and following in the footsteps of Christ. Thousands of young Christians are pounding the pavement and sharing the gospel. Welcome to Christian World News. I'm Gary Lane. The North African country of Tunisia is deeply rooted in Christianity, with a rich heritage dating back centuries. Despite its predominantly Muslim population, Tunisia's faith history includes the legacy of the early martyrs, which continues to shape its spiritual identity. George Thomas tells us more.
If you're looking for an adventure destination off the beaten path, look no further than Tunisia.
Tunisia is a wonderful nation. We like to call it the Pearl of the Mediterranean. It overlooks the entire Mediterranean Sea and is like a beautiful window to our desert.
Bordered by Algeria, Libya, and the Mediterranean Sea, Tunisia offers a diverse range of landscapes, from beautiful beaches to the vast Sahara Desert. And for certain movie fans,
Tunisia is home of Star Wars.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
The R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Tunisia was the filming location for the first 6 Star Wars movies, with sets still visible in the desert. The country also boasts a rich Christian history.
There is this sort of idea that Christianity is this new religion that is coming from the West. No, we're talking about 200 AD, when there was a vibrant church here.
American William Brown has lived here for 22 years. He pastors the Reformed Church of Tunisia. Drive 20 minutes northeast of the capital, Tunis, and you'll arrive at the ancient Roman ruins of Carthage.
The ruins, at least for people of faith, are very powerful.
Carthage served as a significant center of early Christian thought and home to influential church fathers.
You have Cyprian, his work on the unity of the church. You have Augustine, who was not from Carthage, but was from modern-day Algeria, who came over, was a teacher here. You had Tertullian, and Tertullian is very significant because he was a Tunisian lawyer who came to Christ, and he came up with new vocabulary to try to explain Christian concepts. So even this word Trinity that we have is actually originally came from him.
Have mercy upon you.
American Frank Bernardi pastors the St. George's Anglican Church in Tunis. He points to Carthage as an important center of Christianity in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, a thriving hub for the faith that served as the seat of the Christian church for all of North Africa.
What it produced was this really significant, what I like to call high-octane church that had a reputation throughout the world because of how serious they took their faith and how willing they were to die for their faith.
Dr. Corné Becker, Dean of the School of Divinity at Regent University, says Christianity faced resistance from the Roman Empire, suspicious of this flourishing new faith.
Carthage was really a hotbed of persecution, so Christianity comes to Carthage at the beginning of the 2nd century. And right at the beginning of that, there are a number of martyrs.
Saints Perpetua and Felicity were Christian martyrs from the early persecutions of the church in Africa by Emperor Severus.
Among the more famous martyrs are Felicitas and Perpetua, 2 women brought to this amphitheater on March 7th, 203 AD, to face punishment for following Christ. According to historical accounts, Felicity and Perpetua were led out of those gates down this narrow portion of the lower level of the amphitheater. On that March 7th day, tens of thousands of people had presumably gathered on the upper level, anticipating that the two Christian women would be eaten alive by wild animals. Instead, the accounts show that the emperor of the day commanded that the two women be put to death by sword.
The executioners carried out their duties quickly, though Perpetua had to guide the gladiator's sword to her throat after he first painfully struck a bone instead of a vein.
Their extraordinary commitment to Christ in the face of public scourging, being thrown to wild animals and finally being killed by the sword, would become a witness not only to North Africa, but to the rest of the world.
The Christians back then who accepted the truth sacrificed themselves, and they did not deny Christ and their beliefs.
Mufida is a member of the Christian community here, and we've taken precautions to protect her identity. She tells CBN News their story of Christianity is one of resilience.
I'm related to these martyrs who were among the first Tunisian Christians in my country. My identity is related to them. I belong to something historic and deep-rooted in Tunisia, and that makes me feel even more proud to belong to Christ.
Elijah, a Christian leader here, says that even though the country's Christian community is small, it stands as a living testimony to the enduring power of faith.
It's a challenge to be a believer in Tunisia, but at the same time, it's a pleasure to live the Christian life and share this with others.
The rough estimates are that there are about 30,000 Christians today who reside in Tunisia, 80% of whom are foreigners. Local Tunisian believers number around 5,000. Although a predominantly Muslim country, Tunisia recognizes freedom of religion. Since the Arab Spring uprising almost 14 years ago, the government has embraced more democratic values.
It used to be very hard for Christians to speak openly about Christ and share their faith. Some were beaten and died in jail. There was so much danger and restrictions, but now, slowly with the openness of the environment, things are changing.
Bernardi says Tunisia's spiritual legacy is not only in ancient ruins, but also in the memories of martyrs and theologians. He longs for a resurgence of faith that mirrors the powerful, world-changing Christianity once defined by this region.
I want Christians around the world to pray that that blessing of Carthage, a church of high-octane Christianity that changed the world, I pray that that blessing return to this place.
George Thomas, CBN News, Carthage, Tunisia.
Up next, he's a Christian in the IDF. Hear about his experience in the tunnels of Gaza and why he believes God spared his life more than once. Welcome back to Christian World News. A long line of U.S. officials visited Israel last week as the Trump administration tries to keep the peace deal on track. Negotiators Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio all came to consult with the Netanyahu government and try to get the next phase of the deal. Some question why they're not visiting Turkey and Qatar to put more pressure on Hamas. The terror group still has not delivered all the hostage bodies it promised to fulfill Phase 1. When Israel invaded Gaza after the October 7th attacks, the IDF discovered a network of tunnels at least 350 miles long. Combat engineer Levi Davis has spent a lot of time in those tunnels. This Israeli Christian recently shared his experiences helping to destroy the deadly labyrinth below Gaza. Chris Mitchell reports on how the Lord equipped him and protected him throughout his mission.
We were called down to Gaza to specifically deal with tunnels and enemy infrastructure just to blow them up. With all of the tunnels of Hamas, those tunnels have been such a point of so much death and so much destruction and trauma and taking the hostages in, but as our forces being inside, they've used it to come out and hurt our forces. So for 3 months, we were in and out of Gaza every day. And we would have 1 or 2 missions, sometimes 3 or 4 every single day. And we would have to go in, do our work, come out, reload our explosives, go in again. And it was very, very physically intense, not much sleep, many early mornings, many late nights, but there was so much work.
How did you know where the tunnels were?
There's many, many units inside all the time, moving forward, clearing out streets. And as they were moving forward, they would identify these tunnels or these different places that would need to be dealt with. And they would call us and they would send us the location and they would be there waiting for us.
The work required swift coordination between the tunnel units. But sometimes Davis's group would hit delays that saved their lives.
And me and my friends, we were working on one tunnel. We were about to go to the next one, and just about 20 meters away from this next tunnel that we had already been supposed to be working on, but we were delayed. It literally blew up right in front of us. Thankfully, the Lord really protected us, and he delayed us from even getting there.
One day in Gaza, Davis and his team experienced a soldier's nightmare, caught by surprise with tunnels and buildings exploding within seconds of each other. But miraculously, he survived.
It was in the center of Gaza, El Bourej. There was a missile factory that was discovered. There was lots of very important equipment that had been smuggled from outside of the country into Gaza. There was about 8 tunnels that were connected. We had many tanks guarding us. We had a lot of people on the ground that were guarding. There was a lot of commotion around this mission. Suddenly, my machine that I use every day to pump in these explosives suddenly stopped working. I did everything I could do in my power to fix it. I called technicians. I tried to do all the regular things, and I finally figured out what the problem was. And there was something loose in the air pressure, and I just tightened it, and I was about to flow the explosives into the tunnel. And suddenly I hear the explosion. I look to my left, 20 meters there, the tunnel that was just north of us, everything, 2 tons of explosive in the air, 50 meters that way, another one, and many more around us that I didn't see. It was just shocking to see it so close, and suddenly the rocks are falling, and I was hit with a big block in my neck that actually paralyzed me for about like a minute. I couldn't move, and I thought that was it. I thought I was going to be paralyzed, but after about, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 seconds, I started to feel tingling in my body, and I was back up on my feet within a minute. I was there with about another 4 teammates, but quickly we were on the comms trying to get our officer, and he wasn't answering, and there was ones from our team that had got wounded from the rocks and from the wave that came from the explosion. So we were helping them, and others were going to see what was with others, and very quickly we found out that there was 4 more of our teammates that were really badly wounded, and 2 of our teammates that were killed.
The questions were inevitable. Why did he survive and his friends didn't? Where was God in the battle?
I know so clearly that he's kept me because he has more for me to do. To be light, to be salt where we are, we need to be walking in that calling, walking in what he's called us to do, using the gifts that he's given us to use. And I think one of the big things in my process of the aftermath and the Lord healing my heart, one of the biggest and the first things that really happened was just him reassuring me of his presence there, even in that place of death and destruction, that he was there and that he prepared the way before us.
Davis may have sensed God's protection, but he still had to wrestle with battlefield mistakes and forgive his enemies.
There was so many mistakes that happened that day, and I had to forgive a lot. And I don't think I could do it without Yeshua forgiving me and him shedding his blood for me and for forgiving all of those others that I had a hard time forgiving. But until October 7th, I had never really experienced what Yeshua calls us to do in Matthew, praying for our enemies, loving our enemies, praying for those who persecute us. That was just a verse that I was like, oh, that's nice, and maybe I had a bully at school that felt like my enemy, but no, this is a real enemy that wants to kill us. But the Lord died for them too. Just praying for the Lord to show up in the camps of Hamas, in the camps of Hezbollah, and to reveal himself, to open their eyes by his mercy, to allow them to find him. And it sounds so like, why would I pray for my enemy? But it's something that the Lord calls us to do, and I believe it's something that he will use also to heal our hearts.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, in clubs across America and other parts of the world, Christians are literally running the race for Christ. Welcome back to Christian World News. Run with Christ is a ministry led by Gen Z Christians that's gaining ground across the nation and around the world. Every week, tens of thousands of young people gather to run, worship, and hear the gospel. What started in Columbus, Ohio last year is now in more than 80 cities nationwide and 5 countries. Recently, CBN's Wendy Griffith joined the run in the nation's capital.
The Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. set the stage for this Run with Christ event.
All unto nothing but the gospel.
Founder and organizer Will Geringer says he actually started the club as a way for him to deepen his faith.
And what we thought would be a cool little cute community where we did a devotional beforehand and then we ran together ended up turning into hundreds of people gathering on a Saturday morning, over 200-ish people, and we saw people just getting saved, prayed for, people getting plugged into the local church.
On this Saturday morning, hundreds of young people turned out from all over the country. You guys look pumped up. You ready for this run?
Yeah, so ready. So ready. I've been waiting for this for a while now. Yeah, so ready.
Where are you guys from?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I'm from Indiana, so Indianapolis.
What brought you here today?
The hunger of Gen Z and like people coming together for the love of Christ and just that unity that Christ brings us. The Holy Spirit brought me here. I mean, this is a family. Like, this group of people is a blessing from Christ. I prayed for this group of people for so long, and just to come here and worship and pray for the nation on the nation's capital is such a blessing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Did you guys know each other before today?
No, we actually just met yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday evening. And this morning we saw each other and we're like, we're going to run together.
Yeah.
20-year-old Lauren Hilty from Texas and 21-year-old Samaya Cameron from Alabama say Run with Christ not only brought them together as friends, but is bringing young people into community like never before.
So I just felt a stirring in my spirit. I was like, I have to go there. I don't know why, but and then the Lord made a way, and so I bought my ticket in the summer. It had been a plan to come. I didn't really know who I was going to meet, where I was going to be, but the Lord made a way, and I just know that He's doing something so big.
Our prayer lately has just been for the nations, and it's been for the people of all the nations, and just to come together. And then this event, and we see it, and it's in the capital of our country with all this things happening in the atmosphere. It was just insane, and it was beautiful, and I knew I had to be here.
Run with Christ is way more than a run club, but rather a movement with a mission to make heaven full. Woo!
Brandy.
Where are you from?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
You came all the way from Tennessee?
Yes.
Yeah, and have you done Run with Christ before?
No, this is our first one.
What's it like?
It's incredible. It's so affirming just for our kids to see other young people also contending and praying for this generation.
Yeah, and guess what? We can run too.
Yeah, we can run too.
I thank you that today is simple. You know, all that pressure just wipes off your shoulders.
Geringer says the mission is to take people from isolated to integrated through faith and fitness.
Amen.
You show up on a Saturday morning and you're like, oh, okay, am I coming to this competitive running group? What's happening? But you show up and then there's music and people are loving on you. You're getting hugged and you're getting energy drinks and you're like, what is going on? I thought I was coming to a competitive environment. But in reality, running is just honestly the facade of it all, to just bring people in. But then we get to share with them the love of Christ.
Run with Christ has exploded into more than 80 cities in 5 countries and is still growing. Will says it's only God.
There has not been one city in this entire world that I've reached out to previous to see if they wanted to start one. Every city has started with one little random yes from a random 20-something-year-old that's been like, hey, I don't really have community here. I'd love to see change happen here. How can I start one?
20-year-old Sage, who attends Baylor University, says she's planning to start a Run with Christ chapter in Waco, Texas soon.
I think Gen Z can really recognize authenticity, and that's why this is so popular, because it's authentic, and because Jesus is authentic and He's real, and that's what people want. We're tired of the fakeness. We're tired of the ways of the world. We want to give our life to something that's bigger than us, and that is the man, Jesus Christ. There's a new fire because people are so desperate, and like they've been seeking every experience, every drug, every alcohol, every experience that they can experience, and realizing that's not going to sustain them. And so we're just ready to, I'm ready to follow Jesus wherever.
For many who came, it was hard to put the experience into words.
We were looking at the Lincoln Memorial and we were like, we're sitting here worshiping like in our capital, and people that we don't even know, and the generations coming together and all the nations are coming together, and we're just in awe.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News, Washington.
You can get Christian World News delivered straight to your inbox. To sign up for our weekly email update, just go to cbnworldnews.com. We'll be right back. Finally this week, a vision decades in the making is coming to pass as Regent University begins construction of a new athletic complex. It's a project born in faith and fulfilled by God's miraculous provision. CBN's Brody Carter reports.
More than 40 years ago, Gordon Robertson and his father Pat stood at this very site. Before there were any roads or buildings, that's when the dream of Regent University first took shape.
I remember looking around saying, Dad, this is swampland. I mean, what are you thinking? And what God has done is nothing short of a miracle. Every single building you see on campus was built when the accountant said, you don't have the money, you can't do this, but God always provided.
And with shovels in the ground, that dream will become reality in the form of a $50 million, 31-acre athletic and fitness center. It's desperately needed to bring Regent's 14 NCAA Division III teams under one roof, according to athletic director Michael Allen.
You know, we've been very blessed and fortunate to have those partnerships to help us run our athletic departments here the last 9 years. But it's just going to be a game changer for Regent University in more ways than one, but specifically our athletic department by having these on-campus facilities. So we're really excited.
The Athletic and Fitness Center will include a 2,000-seat arena, fitness center, sports medicine clinic, outdoor track, and multiple venues for soccer, baseball, and softball. For Chancellor Robertson, the project is more than a construction milestone.
This was all done by God. When he asked my father to build a university for his glory, he fully was backing that word, that he wanted this facility, he wanted Regent University to be for his glory. And so that's what we're doing today. We're dedicating it to him. We're dedicating it to his glory.
1, 2, 3, Regent! 4, 5, 6, Royals!
That's what we dubbed the Royal Way, and that's really what being a Royal is all about.
Reporting in Virginia Beach, Brody Carter, CBN News.
A godly vision for Regent's future. Well, thank you for joining us this week. Until next week, goodbye and God bless you.